Hi guys, we are off and rolling. So the Rugby World Cup has started with a bang, and the first game, Japan versus Russia, I thought might be a bit of a damp squib, an easy win for Japan, but far from it. It was 30 points to 10 in the end to Japan, bonus point win, so on the face of it, fantastic, but it was tough for them, and it was a great game. It was 100% red hot, the crowd noise was amazing, it got the Japanese fans right into it. And the best thing was Russia scores first. What a great try. And it just got the game going. It got the crowd excited. It got a bit of nerves going. And we had a proper sporting event on. I will say about Russia. Russia's cardiovascular fitness was unbelievable. They're not just relying on massive bulk. They are real athletes. And they kept going all game. They really did. They're not slowing down. They're in good shape, and I was unbelievably impressed with their attitude. Their kicking game was good. Their aerial game was good. The quality all around wasn't quite there, to be fair, but we thought that might be the case. But there was definitely a point where Japan were really worried. Japan, fast and frenetic at the start. And it was against the same, Russia the same. It's actually quite a bad matchup for Japan, I believe. Russian game plan definitely matches their speed around the pitch. I think Japan would actually do better with a bigger, slower team against them. But it was a crazy match. And at half-time they were definitely worried. But they were just too good in all the areas. It's a good wake up for them, a good workout for Japan. They need to be more clinical. If they're going to beat one of these big teams, Ireland or Scotland, they've got to be a bit more clinical. So that's the scare maybe they needed. Japan versus Scotland is again going to be crazy fast. This whole Rugby World Cup is going to be fast. I think the bigger, slower teams are going to struggle. And Japan's excited now, and we are off and running. Australia-Fiji, a classic game of two halves. At half-time, 10-12 to Fiji. The big upset is looking on. Fiji were fired up. First of all, what I'd say, I was very disappointed actually with Michael Cheika's tactics. He played the worst tactics you could play against Fiji, which is Australia's natural game plan. I know that's his philosophy, but look what happened when he changed in the second half and went more direct before he went wide. It was actually quite straightforward for them. So a terrible tactical blunder from Cheika. I'm pretty sure he was just backing them, saying it doesn't matter how well the opposition play, we're better. And they weren't. So that's got to be a lesson for him. He has learnt. He adapted when they beat the All Blacks. Whereas before he didn't adapt 3 times when England whitewashed them. So that is one of Cheika's Achilles heel, that stubbornness. He's got to appreciate and value what the opposition bring a little bit more. Anyway, rant over there. There were definitely handling errors for Australia in that first half, as Fijian could line up players individually and just line up and smash them. And you could see some of the Australian ball carriers were tentative. They were worried about the Fijians. You know, when Beale and O'Connor are tiptoeing into contact, they were just getting boomed, and that's not the way to play Fiji. They weren't challenging them in the tight. They weren't challenging them where they're a little bit weaker, and it cost them. And like what I said, when Australia went tight first in the second half, then they forced in discipline, they earned the right to go wide, the old saying, and absolutely they scored some great tries. Kurabetti, good try, and actually walked away quite comfortable in that second half, not the first half. Let's have a quick word about Fiji. Volavola's kicking game was excellent. He really probed and tested Australia, gave Fiji that respite so they don't have to go 100% all the time. However, their kicking from 9 was really poor. They've got to be able to kick from both. I mean, that was actually very poor. Fiji have got a real backline mismatch. In this game, they're so much bigger, stronger and faster than the Australians in the backline, I thought. The forwards, however, when Australia took them on up front tight, the forwards aren't quite as good. As a commentator did say, there's quite a few players who don't play in the top leagues in Fiji's pack, and it did show a little bit, scrum time in the tight. I mean, when Fijian's D is set, it's very destructive, amazing offloads. You know, they're going to score some great tries. They are going to knock the ball on a bit because they're going to push the offload. That's going to happen. They can have poor discipline in the tight, in the maul. But I was impressed with their breakdown work. Very sharp on the breakdown. A lot of good turnovers. Yeah, but after Australia changed their tactics to sensible tactics, they really struggled, and when they got behind, the bit I was actually a little disappointed about, maybe compared to, say, the Russian team, the Fijian heads did drop. That psychology, the game wasn't gone, but they felt it was slipping away, and you felt the energy drain from that team. I don't think it was a fitness thing. So they've just got to stay in there. They've got to hang tough. They've got to improve in the tight if Fiji are going to be a threat. But you can see if you take them on a loose, fast game, you know, it could be game over. France-Argentina was a fascinating affair. Like Australia-Fiji, a classic game of two halves. I think it was 23-21 to France in the end. No bonus point. Winning a bonus point, that is. A losing bonus point, I guess, for Argentina. And France were just dominant in that first half. They looked in control. They looked quality. Argentina did edge the scrum throughout. And the scrum for France traditionally is a strength. So that's a worry. Argentina were direct, absolutely. France used the full width, left to right. Great try for Fiku, stretching the Argentinian defence, good creativity. And if you're playing Dupont and Intermac at 9 and 10, France are going to move the ball a lot. They've just got to get better in the tight exchanges and a bit better on the discipline as well in the scrum. So, you know, some really good loose and fast play from France there. The try for Dupont was excellent, 14-3 I believe it went. And then there was danger of France cutting loose and really running riot. Pinot's a right danger when they put him in open space. And the scrum problems continued for the French, but they were doing so well in open play it didn't matter. I think another penalty went 17-3. Then Argentina attack pressure 5 metres out, multiple scrums, penalties. But then the first French scrum penalty relieved all that pressure, and Argentina just weren't converting those chances in that first half. So France go in well on top, 20 points to 3. Then in the second half, Argentina come out just with a rocket up them basically. They actually had the energy. They didn't change their game plan too much, but they were just a lot better in what they did. Their direct carries were going over the gain line. The driving maul was good. Score a try off that, 20-10. And that driving maul was a perfect second half response. They turned down a kick at goal and got the score. Momentum's going with Argentina now. Another driving maul try. 2015 and alarm bells are ringing. Sanchez, although misses a kick, so that could have cost them. And then a brilliant counter-attack all up the wing by Argentina. Pinot gives away what I believe was a huge penalty, just diving over the top of the ruck. Very surprised there wasn't a yellow card there. Referee was quite lenient. Penalty 2018, so getting really hairy. Argentina get a penalty. French chat back, 10 metres closer, massive error. Pinot looked a bit concussed. The new kicker they brought on for Sanchez nails it, so that paid off. But then straight away they go to France, regather, get the ball off the restart, regather the kick even. Then Lopez scores a nice drop goal that just scrapes over. 23-21. It looks like France are going to scrape through. Dupont volleys a box kick, which is pretty cool. France are looking strong where Argentina are weak. This is what I was noting at the time. You know, the ball movement, the offload, but then Argentina are looking strong where France are weak. The set piece and the direct driving. Intermac hooks a penalty, which is a big miss, and then Fiku takes a man in the air, penalty, up comes the cannon boot of Buffelli, and he misses, and it's all over. Could have gone either way, game of two halves. Argentina poor in the first half, much better in the second. Both look to have strengths, but certainly significant weaknesses. I think sides will fancy beating them. Big sides will fancy beating these two. I think they both actually have to improve, but a crazy backwards and forwards match. Into the last match of the Friday and the Saturday, New Zealand versus South Africa, the big boys. Ends up 23-13 to New Zealand, but at the beginning, lovely kicks off turnover, 3-0 to France, to South Africa, just like that. And then New Zealand's tackling was looking great. They were stopping South Africa, getting over the gain line with their big ball carriers, which created a big problem for South Africa. But then South Africa were right on it with their defence on New Zealand. So both teams went to the kicking game a lot, very effective early on. Mwanga at 10, I was just noting, with Mwanga at 10, Beauden Barrett at 15, of course, it allows Barrett to float around, off a wide behind, bit further out, playmaker, runner, and they swap over as well, worth noting that. But it was very even. 40 minutes in, I just noted, very even, could go either way. South Africa 3-0 up. And I've noted as well that D'Alande is a massive focus for South Africa on starter plays, and I'll either put him just at first receiver. It's a bit obvious, but it gets them going. But there we go. On 17 minutes, it was the first incisive phases for South Africa. Penalty and really bad miss off the post for Pollard. Then at 20 minutes, sustained South Africa pressure on the New Zealand 22. So it was looking quite good for South Africa at this point. And then a shocking pass sends South Africa all the way back to their 22. Penalty New Zealand, 3-all. Big swing right there. They didn't actually really recover from that fully. Then, you know, it's 2 huge South Africa errors in a row. Massive waste. Maybe their heads went down a tiny bit then. Then, a little bit of chaos off a kick, I think. Sever Reece gets the ball, beats a man, brilliant. Goes up the wing, onto Sevilla, gas, Beauden Barrett. Gaps open because of the chaos, goes through, lovely offload, bridge try. Quality, chaotic try. It's what New Zealand do so well because they back their skills. 10-3 that was. Creativity, handling, pace, came to the fore again, creates another try for Scott Barrett. It looks like game over. And New Zealand have just exploded into life, exploited, you know, some small chances, turned them into big chances. 17-3. Could be game over. And at this point, New Zealand don't need to chase the game. They can just control it. They look calmer. South Africa looked a bit shell-shocked, a bit tentative in attack. Something I'd noticed, I'd picked Ardie Savea at 8 in my fantasy team. They named him at 6, but he does go 8 a lot on attacking scrums, just a point there, and then 6 in defensive scrums. At the end of the half, South Africa truck it up, kick it. They're looking quite low on creativity. It's not really working. It's 17-3 at half time. Massive mountain to climb. Into the second half, and New Zealand just are not looking to force anything. Happy to kick, happy to do up and unders, maul it, not looking to force it. And then Colby makes one of his unbelievable breaks right up the right, nearly scores. I think maybe Mwanga catches him it, or maybe it was later. South Africa pressure in the 22. Bit of chaos in the New Zealand defence. No one's guarding the ruck behind even, whatever position you want to call that, not the guards. And Peter Steph-Toy straight through the middle, slow motion running, he looks knackered, and scores. Game on, 17-10. So, New Zealand not quite controlling it. At this point, I'd noted New Zealand were looking a little light on those direct options in midfield. As I said that, actually Sonny Bill Williams came on, although I don't think he had a marvellous game actually when he came on. I thought he was so-so, to be honest. Then Vermeulen just steps through a few tackles, feeds de Klerk, great break. Surely must score, I thought. Turns into pressure, must score, but a turnover again. That happened a couple of times. New Zealand turn it over, they counter, goes end to end, crazy stuff. This game is starting to break open. And the New Zealand defence, I was noting, looking much more porous now. The game's starting to stretch. A lovely line-out steal comes up actually from Mostert. That is his strength. He's so good in the line-out. Probably why he's going to start in their best 15. Then it was a penalty. After that, huge kick to touch for South Africa. Then some massive pressure phases, and then a huge, lovely drop goal from Pollard. Then scrum penalty against South Africa, 20 points to 13. Certainly, South Africa won't be happy. They thought they'd probably want to dominate them in the scrum. Didn't quite do that. Beauden Barrett goes to 10, Smith to 15, which is their other option. And it goes into what I think is an arm wrestle period, really. Quite slow, not a lot going on. Offside penalty to New Zealand, another 3 points, 23-13. Then it was a very scrappy ending to the game, really, apart from a lovely Colby break, which I think that was the one Mwanga caught him. But another New Zealand turnover, finishes 23-13. So New Zealand earned the victory. South Africa look crestfallen. They're going to have to pick themselves up because they can have a great chance. They should win the rest of their games at a canter and be very fresh for the quarterfinals, so they've got to get over that disappointment. But it did look very big disappointment. I think they hoped and expected and thought they could beat them, and they didn't. New Zealand were just too clinical when it was necessary. South Africa didn't quite have the same and went a bit flat at times. So both dangerous, but both not looking perfect. So there is hope there for other teams. Please let me know what you guys think of those games. Comment below, and I will be back hopefully tomorrow with the next set of games. Until then, enjoy the World Cup.